Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television, and today we're staying with, of course, the health sector, and we'll be taking a look at a particular condition on the program today. There's a need to beam the searchlight on this particular I don't even know if to call it an illness or a disease, but our doctors this morning will clarify how best to put this particular condition. And like I said at the beginning of the program, before we went on that break, research shows that more women actually present with this particular health condition. Is this a given, or are men also susceptible to this health condition at some point in time? I have two doctors in the house this morning, and together we'll be taking a look at understanding lupus, the symptoms as well as the treatment. This morning, join me to welcome Dr. Miriam Oshodi. She's a public health physician as well as Assistant Director, Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board. Thank you, Dr. Oshodi, for being here on the program this morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
And we have Dr. Okeke Florentina Ijoma. She's a consultant rheumatologist at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Louth. Thank you, Dr. Okeke, for being here on the program.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Right. Let me start from your end, Dr. Okeke. And a lot of Nigerians will be wondering who a rheumatologist is. A public health physician, absolutely, we know. Of course, you're a special doctor. What do you do?
Okay, so rheumatologists are doctors practice a branch of medicine, and we tend to treat musculoskeletal diseases that are non-traumatic, and also treat autoimmune diseases.
Okay, is it a very popular special area in Nigeria here?
Yes, it is. It's a special area.
It's a special area. All right. So let's come back to what we're taking a look at today. I mean, I just needed our viewers to know what exactly you do and how, of course, you fit into this conversation. So let's come back to the topic here today. Dr. Oshodi, let's start with you. When we say lupus, what exactly is this condition, and how does it also present itself?
Okay, yeah, thank you for having me. So lupus is an autoimmune disease, and basically what it means is it's your immune system fighting against itself. So the immune system is responsible for helping fight diseases and other organisms in the body. However, now the immune system is fighting against its own self.
Wow.
So that's what lupus basically is to the layman.
Right. I mean, and you said it's autoimmune.
Yes.
And I mean, from how you've explained it, it doesn't look good. I mean, so I mean, your body should fight out aliens, should fight out things that are not part of the body. But here you are fighting against your own self. Yeah. So it means that definitely is not quite palatable to the ear. Dr. Okeke, from what Dr. Oshodi explained now, and how I know that well, with the little I read about this particular condition, it presents itself usually from joints, pains, aches, and all of that. But is that the basic symptoms, or how can you really know that you're coming down with lupus?
Okay, so this is a multisystemic disease, which means it can affect any organ of the body. So some of the most common symptoms we tend to see is patients coming down with recurrent fever, fatigue, and some of the patients will tell you that they've been treating malaria off and on, typhoid off and on. Some of the other symptoms they tend to have is joint pains, but not just joint pains. The joint pains that are associated with swelling, associated with stiffness early in the morning, and then the joint pains tend to get better with activity and worse with rest. So you'd see the patients with swollen joints, painful joints. Some of the other things, like I said, it's a multi-systemic disease. You can have skin lesions. We have the malar rash, that is the butterfly rash around the face. They can have hair loss you know, where you have patchy hair loss around.
Wow.
They could have some other photosensitive rashes where the patient goes out under the sun and they become itchy and they start having breakout with spots.
Okay.
Patient could also have they have fluid in the lungs, fluid in the heart. You know, it could also affect the renal system, so the person tends to be leaking protein. So when you do the urinalysis, there'll be protein in urine. It could also cause kidney damage.
Wow.
So it's
all
a multi-systemic
it's
thing.
quite
so
huge.
there's fatigue, it can cause headaches, seizures. You know, some patients would have psychosis, or what we laymen would say the patient is mad or,
or mental issues.
Illness.
Okay.
So those are some of the symptoms you can have.
Okay, so so doctor, again, I did say that it looks like this particular ailment, of course, has more, you know, is more common with women.
Yeah,
so where do we place that? And if it does, is there an age you know, bracket to when these things occur, or it can happen at any particular point in time, Dr. Shodi?
Okay, so yes, like you rightly said, lupus is common in women, particularly age group 15 to 44 years of age.
15?
Yes, to 44 years. But that doesn't mean that it can occur outside this age group.
Right.
But that is what studies have found, that is it's common. And then there are also some predisposing factors, the fact that you're black, black American, yes. And then there is no known cause for lupus, but there are some risk factors, some genetic factors, hormonal factors, environmental factors, and also health history factors. So for instance, if someone has lupus, or someone's parents has lupus, biological parents, there's a tendency that the child can also come down.
So it could be hereditary?
No.
It could
not
be
hereditary.
Okay.
Now, not hereditary, but that's the genetic predisposition, yes. So it's not hereditary. But all this being said, there's still no known cause for lupus. So you might have all this and not end up with lupus, and you can also have all this and end up with lupus.
Wow. So, I mean...
Can I contribute to that?
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, so it's more common in women of childbearing age, like she rightly said, and it's also something that we see. It's less common in men and also in children. So
but is it possible in men?
Yes, it is possible.
It's less common, but it's possible.
So there's a ratio of 9 to 12 to 1 for men. So it's more common in women, but it does occur in males.
Okay.
And some of the environmental risk, the hormonal risk factor is estrogen, which we of course know is more common in women. So that could explain why it's more common in women.
Right. So I mean, from what you've said, I said that there should be that. But I've also noticed that in recent times, this was something that we didn't used to hear much about, or perhaps again because we are laymen, maybe you doctors, but now it is becoming predominant. Well, not too much, but I mean we're beginning to hear more about lupus, and it's becoming something that, okay, what exactly is going on? So is there a sudden awareness on this particular disease? Or is it that it's something that, you know, it's now maybe the weather, maybe something is just making it more rampant nowadays? Dr. Okeke, let's start with you before we come to Dr.
Okay,
Shudi.
I think the disease has always been there. Okay. I would say that. But I think it's more awareness. Okay. More social media awareness, basically. So it's a disease that I would say is, when as an undergraduate, a medical undergraduate, I didn't have a rheumatologist per se as a teacher. So basically all I knew about lupus was that it was a differential for lots of other diseases, right? So I was opportune when I went into residency to have had a rheumatologist that I trained under. Right. And of course, before I went for my post, I developed interest. So I think the thing is, there's more awareness. It's now being added to the curriculum in medical school. Yeah, so we have a lot of people coming out to say this is what they have, and movies being created about the illness, which is also helping to shed more light that this is there. So I think it's more advocacy. But whether it's been there, it has always been there. It's just people are now more aware.
Okay, Dr. Shode, as you contribute to that, I also like for you to also add the fact that is it also yes, the awareness is there, but also the diagnosis part.
Yes.
Are we now getting it?
Yes.
Are we now getting? I mean, is it not coming to that level where we're beginning to diagnose it better now?
Yes. So just like Dr. Kiki rightly said, yes, in the past, lupus has always been there. I remember as a medical student, I had a colleague that was down with lupus. But, of course, we are improving on a daily basis with our diagnosis. In those days, if you needed to do a test, maybe the ANA, you have to go to maybe it's only one lab or something in the whole of the country that you're able to get tests, or they have to send it out of the country and you have to get it back in some months. But now, of course, we are improving, and so it's readily available. So making the diagnosis is much more readily available compared to before, coupled with the fact that there is also increased awareness. And then also because the power of social media, you can't underestimate. People are coming out, people are talking, we have organizations that have been supporting people, we have celebrities coming up to say, okay, there's something about this. So I think that is also improving, people thinking it's not all fever that is malaria, it's not all joint pain that is malaria or typhoid or something, yes. So that's improving the awareness.
Right. What role does self-diagnosis also play here? And also issues around, like you rightly said, it is not all joint pains that are associated with other diseases, even though, these things also present themselves in different ways. And so when people also just assume there's just an ordinary pain and I'm not going to go to the hospital for that, what damage really does that also cause? And then people will just do off-the-counter medication and say it's just a joint pain. My sister had it 2 days ago. It's just a muscle pain. It will fizzle out. How much damage has that also caused when we're talking about this particular condition?
Okay, so the unfortunate thing that seems to always play out is that most times before a patient who has an autoimmune disease gets to the rheumatologist, it takes over 2-3 years because, of course, you know that in Nigeria we tend to do a lot of over-the-counter medications. We tend to do a lot of misdiagnosis. So we also have people thinking, this is a spiritual attack, people trying to, because of the stigma, hide. So most times, by the time they're getting to you, a lot of damage could have been done. And we tend to talk more about early diagnosis, and that's where the advocacy comes in. So if you have most of the symptoms we've talked about, the easiest thing you can do that isn't so expensive is to do an ESR, erythrocyte sedimentation rate. If it's very high and you have this multi-system, then I think you should see a rheumatologist. Not all joint pains are just pains due to stress or all that. So if you have a joint pain, that's why I try to explain that if you have a joint pain, there's associated swelling, it's been there for a while, and it gets better with activity, gets worse when you're resting. Early morning stiffness, for example, you can't stretch because it's stiff and all that, then you should see a rheumatologist. Okay.
Now, this is where, so Doc, you are a public health physician, and then, of course, because she's a rheumatologist, they probably would be in the better position to actually treat these conditions. But it's also very important that most people will probably see a GP first, or see a public health phezician first. So let's talk about referrals. At what point does this come to play, and how fast is it? Because you mentioned that sometimes it takes up to 2 or 3 years before these patients also are referred to them. So how are we doing in the healthcare sector with referrals? Because that also is huge.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So before we get to referrals, I think we'll start with our health-seeking behavior, because, our health-seeking behavior is quite poor. Because we have access to lots of over-the-counter medications. So even someone that has malaria, let's take malaria, has done so many things before getting to the health facility. And so if someone comes to, for instance, the first point of care, that's primary health care facility, someone gets there and then you have done some investigations, or even do a full blood count. Full blood count, you're looking at differentials and it's not adding up. It's very safe to refer that patient to the secondary facilities. Secondary facilities in a state like Lagos, Nigeria, at the general hospitals, and then so they're able to carry out additional tests. You're looking at the kidney functions, like she said. It's a multi-system disease entity, and so you're looking at checking for the lungs, the kidneys, the livers, the brain, And if you're seeing something that is not adding up, you would then, want to refer to the tertiary facilities. Tertiary facilities are where you most of the time see the rheumatologists.
Right.
They are, yes, they are specialists. Also for the referral, it's I think for
it's
us,
a chain.
Yes, it's a chain, and I think we're not doing badly. However, it's a different thing to give someone a referral letter. It's another thing for the person to
go.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, when it comes to the point of referring, worry sets in, fear sets in, and the person begins to think, is this a death sentence? Okay, we'll come back to you. My colleague Joy has a question. Joy?
Thank you, Abimbola. I want to know how affordable is lupus treatment for the average Nigerian, and then for someone who is down with lupus, can he or she live a normal life, a productive life?
Okay.
Dr. Keke.
So I'll start by saying that lupus is not a death sentence and it's not a contagious disease. So it's something that can be managed with long-term treatments. It doesn't have a cure currently. So I would explain what a cure is. A cure is, for example, someone has an illness and takes medications for a few days and they stop the medications, right? Well, for lupus, it's like someone who has a chronic illness, so you're on long-term medications, and you have to take those medications for a very long time.
Right.
So part of the problem we tend to have in Nigeria is that, unfortunately, most of these tests are not so cheap. So, and we know that in Nigeria, people pay out of pocket for most of their treatments and all. So the investigations that you need are not so cheap. Right, but the good thing is that we have a very strong understanding with some of these diagnostic centers where we typically run those tests. So most of our patients are given the investigations at the discounted rate. So all we need to do is document and say this patient is coming from us, and it's given at a less rate than it would generally be due. So it's not cheap really, but like I said, something as easy as an ESR, if it's really elevated, markedly elevated, points you, and this person has multi-system disease, for example, the recurrent fever we've talked about, the inflammatory joint pains, the rashes and all that. So it points you to that. So the investigations are not so cheap, but there are things that can be done. And like she rightly said, unlike before where it takes a very long time, say months to get these results,
it's better now.
We are able to get these test results in few days, 7 days to 10 days, 10 working days. Then whether the treatment is affordable, well, what I would say is that there are different treatment options we do. And part of our challenges is that most Nigerians have a low socioeconomic status, and at times it's quite difficult for them to source, and that's one of the challenges we tend to have in managing patients with lupus, because you can see a patient who starts out being able to afford their medications,
and then
as time goes on, they are unable to afford. So we tend to, there's no size fits all for every patient. So we tend to modify treatments based on the organs involved, based on the socioeconomic status of that patient. So it's one of the, so it's a very this question is a very strong challenge, because it's something that, you know, if that's part of the reason why we do advocacy, if insurance schemes can come in and all that, I feel the patients will benefit better.
Okay. Doctor, yes, so the treatment option is not a one-size-fits-all. It depends on how, you know, they present themselves and what exactly is going on with different individuals. And so lifestyle modification, is this also another form of advocacy, awareness, or form of treatment? Because again, in some people, lifestyle modification could just be the way to go.
Yeah. So yes, that's also very important. I think one of the things she said was the fact that there are times when the symptoms are very up, and that's when the patients have what we call the flares. So the flares are when the symptoms are very pronounced, and then, you know, can be very bad. So, however, lifestyle modification can prevent. Yes. So, for instance, protection against sunlight. Like she said, yes. So being out in the sun can come up with the rash, and then you have all the symptoms in multiple. And then another thing is moderate exercise. So, you know, particularly almost all patients with lupus have the joint pain. So, you know, regularly moving the joints from time to time also helps to reduce that pain and that pain. And another thing, very importantly, I think we're discussing just before we came on show, is we cannot overestimate the familial support. Because, of course, most patients or people that have lupus don't want to come out to talk about it. Because you can't imagine someone that is getting married and then the guy said, no, I don't want to go on with this because...
But it's not contagious, like you said.
It's not contagious, but you know, like you said, you know when I started the discussion, I said...
We're very funny people.
Yes.
We stigmatize over everything.
So remember when I said it was autoimmune, the body is fighting against itself, and someone hears that and the person's like, oh, I'm not going to wait, and the person takes up. So people are... familial support is very key. Patients with studies have shown that patients that have familial support, spousal support, you know, sibling support, they do better. You know, in the long run compared to people that are just isolated on their own. And then there are also a lot of support groups now that have been, you know, advocating for clients that have lupus, and people have been doing well. So, like you said, it is not a death sentence.
Right. All right, I'm going to pause on both of you. We're lucky to have somebody in the studio this morning, and of course, she of course, she's been living with lupus for how many years? Okay, well, don't worry, she's right here. She's right here. So we're going to hear from her this morning, and perhaps she can also, you know, tell us how it's been, and perhaps if there's also been, she's been stigmatized in any way, or if this awareness, of course, has had some positive or negative impact, of course, on her as a patient. So we're glad this morning to have Sanusi Fauzat Olubukola. Of course, she's also the convener of a support group with people living with lupus. Thank you for being here on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me, Ma. Good morning.
Right, so tell us, at what point did you, were you diagnosed with lupus?
Actually, I had 10 years of wrong diagnosis.
10 years of...
Wrong diagnosis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I had about 3.5 years of a semi-right diagnosis. And then I had sitting here going to 5 years of proper diagnosis.
So if we marry all of these years,
almost 20.
That's almost 20 years.
18 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
But so tell us, 20 years of all of what you've put together, how's it been?
Oh, well, it's been a roller coaster. It came like my body just started not being mine with different symptoms. And when doctors sees those symptoms, they're always like, there's nothing wrong with you.
Wow.
Even few doctors will tell you, a lot of body, you're bad thing.
You're joking.
Go traditional, you know. But then I just continued because I've been privileged to have some trainings also in the medical line.
Okay.
So it's medicine before spiritual. So I had to continue taking medications. During the line, I was misdiagnosed for tuberculosis. Then I had fluid in my lungs. So I was locked up at the IDH.
Wow.
Believing it was tuberculosis. All my results were negative. But then they were just like...
We can't let you go.
Can't let you go. You know? So, but then I had to tell them I need to sign. I had to, Dama, let me go.
I want to
Just
leave.
let me leave. Because I was within tuberculosis and HIV patients. And I don't
So that was also a risk for you.
Me. So I had to leave. I didn't get home that night. I ended up in another hospital. I was told I had infection of the diaphragm. So I started treatment on that. So it was looking good. I came alive. So after then, I just decided to do an insurance. So I did a private, very expensive insurance. So I was able to run
different
diagnoses.
Right.
So then they were like, it's miliary tuberculosis. So I started the journey. I was on tuberculosis medication for about 2 years.
Wow.
Then I lost my legs. I couldn't walk. And then some of the drug doses were adjusted. I started coming back, thinking it was tuberculosis. You know, I had to just accept it that way. Then it came to discoid lupus. Lupus of the actually started showing on my skin. So I couldn't, if I had to take a public transportation, I had to buy a roll or 2 seats
so that nobody
could touch me because of the pain.
Wow.
So people don't understand it. I was living my pain. So the stigmatization was actually there because I couldn't tell what was wrong with me.
Right.
It wasn't visible.
Right.
My malar arches and everything were on my upper extremities.
You are getting emotional now. Let me just quickly hold your thoughts on that and come back to the doctors here. Misdiagnosis. I'm glad that she said it herself. I mean, so for years, she was misdiagnosed, she was being treated for what was not wrong with her. What kind of damage could, you know, those medications she was using for, I mean, what wasn't wrong with her? How damaging could that also have been to her system, Dr. Okeke?
Okay, so I'll start with the fact that the diagnosis they made, that's the tuberculosis, was probably because of the symptoms she had.
So meaning that one symptom can actually present itself in many ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it was probably because of the symptoms she had. And then again, at times, the symptoms can appear similar, you know. So it may be difficult to, especially for someone who has not been trained as a rheumatologist or who is not fully aware of that type of disease. So it becomes quite challenging. But like I said, for us in rheumatology, it's more about early diagnosis. You know, for her, part of the misdiagnosis could have worsened her symptoms because some of the anti-tuberculous medications actually worsen flares in lupus, right? Like the isoniazid, which is part of the scheme for TB. So that's part of it. So misdiagnosis would have delayed her actual treatment and led to further organ damage.
Dr. Shodi, as you're weighing in on misdiagnosis, and so again, perhaps because she also had a little bit of medical understanding, what if it was a layman? One who could not even, you know, decipher a left from a right, and in the health system where we're still saying we're not having enough help, we're not having enough personnel, and then such a thing, you know, happened. Does this also put us in good light? You know, talking about the medical scene now.
Okay, so with regards to what she just said about misdiagnosis, we can actually do better. We are not where we want to be, but we need to improve on that. And I think the first thing is improved awareness, health education. It's glad that we're having this kind of avenue to have this kind of discussions. And also, it's also important because even in the medical line, we have the CMEs, the continuing medical educations, where people are enlightened. You know, the fact that you've not seen a case or, you know, it's not so common doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Okay.
So, and then there's also, like we had mentioned, the point of you conduct with colleagues. You're not sure of this person because the thing is, really, it can be very worrisome. When you're treating a patient, she comes into these symptoms, you will really, even as a healthcare professional, you get worried. Your patient is not doing better. Your patient is coming down with symptoms. So it's important that we increase the awareness, and we also advocate for people. Now, not to the medical people, to the people in the public. You're not getting better. Still get to the go back to the doctor, like she said, like she did. You know, saying yes, she kept going back, and then even when she said, no, let's go spiritual, let's go traditional, and all stops. You know, when culturally we enter the environment where people will not, we kind of overlook that aspect of it. But we need to improve the awareness, and then for everyone, you know, that has any illness at all, don't stop at the fact that you're not sure what is wrong with you. Still seek that
second, third opinion.
Second, third opinion. If you're not comfortable, it's good you seek.
So since you've been living with lupus, tell us you know how, like Joy asked earlier, it's not financially it's not financially comfortable being on those medication and all of that. But how have you coped? And talking also about family support, how has that helped?
Actually, family support is a lot. I think about 3 or 4 years ago, I actually felt I was a burden to the family. They were doing it. My husband was there for me, my sisters, they put funds together to ensure. But it got to a stage where I actually started having mental health issues. You know, I don't sleep anymore.
Just too much for you.
There was nobody part to lay down because I had my malaria all over my body. So if I sleep on my back, I can't. On my arms, I couldn't sleep. So I sleep only on my stomach, and that is just for about 30 to 1 hour per day.
Per day.
So I have a school, then I still have it. So I just kept writing things, you know, writing programs, executing programs, and then that was how I was able to manage the mental health part, and I was able to source little funds. People don't know why I was doing excursions, getting money from the public to actually buy my medications. So when we couldn't sustain them again, I had to do a video that went viral. I had to call on help. I called for help. So families came together. I was rushed into the critical care unit at that point it was already in my heart, lungs together, so I wasn't having shortness of breath. Having about 300 malar rashes on my back and rashes on my back. I wasn't sleeping, and the dermatologist taking care of me then gave me a wrong cream. They didn't work with any rheumatologist. That was the misdiagnosis I had.
Okay.
So all the rashes went bad. I could actually arrange eggs in them, like a crate.
Wow.
How deep they were.
They were.
So it wasn't easy. But friend came through from the public, came through for me. The video went viral, and my husband was like, wow, you've gone viral. Why did you do this? Okay, let's go for doctors that manages lupus. So we met one of our doctors, Dr. Lao Shebikon, and then he took me there that same day. So then the doctor sat him and told him, this is what is happening to these rashes. They are doing 4 things at a time. They are paining, they are itching, and our weight load, just a weight load. So having about
all over your back.
I said, wow, so this is what she's actually going through. Then what do we do? Said it's just 3 months to 6 month reversal period with proper medication. So I was admitted that same day. I was given some, boosters as in medications. I started seeing changes within 3 to 4 days. The pain subsided. Then I did some other series of tests to ensure my kidney is still fine. But I was already having kidney symptoms. But I did my kidney function test, and it was at a good percentage. So the doctor focused on it, revived the kidney, so that every other medication
can work perfectly on your body.
So I got that back. So getting that back within 3 to 6 months, I noticed I was on steroid. So I was like double this size. The cheeks were there, the round face. But it actually chose to be that because I was feeling that better. But the weights couldn't hold again. So I started having
pains,
arthritis. I couldn't stand for long. I couldn't do anything for long. So I had to see a physiotherapy. So he designed a brace for me. And that brace was at a cost. So it has about 4 or 5 irons. I remove them according to the pain I feel. So I moved with that every day. When I'm on my 4-iron brace, I can spend it as long as I can't stand for long anyway. I sit, I stand.
But everything is, I mean, at least to a large extent, you are here.
Yes,
and it took a while. It took a while, but then you're here. So, and then you have a support group now. So your support group, what do you do? And how are people coming up to talk about it? Because again, it's one thing to be diagnosed, it's another thing to want to talk about it. And so what is the support group doing at such a particular point in time?
All right, currently the support group has about 2,500 lupus warriors throughout Nigeria. And we work with the 36 states. So currently we're having a medication support going on. It can't last them for long, but at least can keep them for a few months before we get other support. And luckily for us, before I came here this morning, I had to get one of the worst cases we have to the clinic. And there's a new movie that's Funke Akindele film behind the scene. So we're able to partner. This is one of the badges that Food Lupus was mentioned. So we were lucky to meet her. And she met one of the worst cases, and she made up her mind that no,
she was
we're going
to
talk about it. So
we've
been sponsoring treatment.
Yeah, we need to go. But before we go, finally, this morning, Doctor, I mean, from what we've picked here today, it means that we also need to do better with cases around misdiagnosis, and also ensuring that we're treating people for the right condition. So, as we close this conversation this morning, what's your charge to people who, of course, have symptoms and are fearful of, coming to the hospitals because of something they might have heard this morning? At least it's better to still present yourself and then get help than staying at home and not doing anything. So what's your advice this morning? And no matter how the pain is, seek medical advice is what I say, but you are the doctor here. So what are your charges to whoever is watching this morning and whoever might have one symptom or the other they're dealing with?
Okay. So I'll start by saying that lupus is not a contagious disease, and it's not a death sentence. So the earlier you get to the hospital, the faster your treatment can start. So if you have symptoms that you have been dealing with for a while, see a specialist. If you can't afford to see one, just see a doctor. I'm sure that by the time, with all the advocacy, with all the trainings that have been going on, it's no longer the way it was years ago that there's a lot of misdiagnosis. People are getting better with it. We've had students who are now doctors, so the awareness is out there.
Okay.
So if you're having any symptoms, please see a doctor. If you're having joint pains that I've tried to explain that are inflammatory, if you do an ESR, it's elevated, please see a doctor, see a rheumatologist. If you're having skin lesions, see a dermatologist. It's a multidisciplinary management, you know. So once you see somebody based on what you're having, for example, if you have the skin manifestations and you see a dermatologist, for example, that dermatologist, knowing what she knows, will be able to say,
you need to see this particular person.
Yes, you need to see. So see a doctor, whatever symptoms you're having, do not stay at home. Do not do herbal medications because those tend to worsen your problem. Do not do over-the-counter medication because those invariably worsen your problem.
Okay.
So see a doctor.
Right. Dr. Shodi.
Yeah.
Go ahead. This in charge.
Yes, I'll look at it from public health point of view.
Right.
And it's very, first of all, like we said, please don't self-medicate. If you're living with lupus, it's not a death sentence. Family support is very key. Reduce your stress. Stress will affect your mental health, and you have to keep it at a very low key. Ensure that your skins are well protected. You don't expose yourself to the sun. And please, please, and please, always seek for medical help. Don't lock yourself behind the doors. It's not a death sentence. It's someone here that's been here for almost over 20 years. She's doing beautifully well. So there are a lot of people that also, he said there are over 2,500 survivors.
Across
so please
Nigeria.
Join support groups and then, you know, seek for all the help you can.
Right. That's the beauty of the support group.
Yes,
it makes you understand that
you're not living alone.
There are other people like you, and they tend to provide emotional
support.
And we, the rheumatologists,
you have another shoulder to also cry.
Exactly.
So that is not just your family.
So reach out. I think reaching out to people makes the difference. Very family support.
But for rheumatologists like yourself, do you also have link to other support groups?
Yes,
minus HARS.
Yes.
Okay, so you can also link up people with other support groups. Okay, absolutely.
We are all, from all the support groups, most rheumatologists are part of it.
Part of it, because you also offer some support for them as well. All right, thank you so much, Sanusi Fauzat Olubukola. Thank you for sharing your experience with us on the program this morning. We appreciate your thoughts. Of course, she's the founder and convener, Lureg Support Foundation, right?
Yes.
Lureg. Okay. Is the Lupus?
Yeah, it's Lupus Remedies Global Support Foundation.
Okay. All right. Acronym Lureg. Okay, thank you. And Dr. KK Florentina Ijoma, consultant rheumatologist from Luth, thank you for being here on the program
Thanks
this
for
morning.
having me.
Dr. Miriam Oshodi, thank you for being here, public health physician, assistant director, Lagos State Primary Healthcare Board. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We've been chasing Dr. Oshodi since last week. Thank you so much for all you do. And I know because you were immunizing, and so you had time to also do that. Thank you so much for all you do in your field. That's the much we take on this side of the table this morning. We hope you've learned one or two things from this conversation today. My takeaway from here is seek help, speak out, and of course, whatever it is you're dealing with, know it at the back of your mind. You're not alone. There's so many other people dealing with those conditions, so be part of those that will seek help for your condition. We'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, Joy will be here with her Lagos conversation.